Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing prior to about 6 months ago when we started getting played with, I'm going to start this program now with a tribute to the United States of America. I'm first going to start it with a tribute to 9/11. Please watch this video.
Together, here we stand on this sacred day of remembrance, a day that has shaped the lives of so many Americans and fundamentally altered the path of an entire nation. At 8:46 a.m., the world forever changed. It was at that moment 23 years ago that American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. In that instance, our nation was thrown into chaos. I ask you to reflect on the journey we have all taken together since 9/11. Reflect on the personal sacrifices that you have made, the skills that you have honed, and the challenges that you have overcome. The unthinkable became a reality, and the unimaginable unfolded right before our eyes. That moment represents more than the beginning of a tragedy. It symbolizes the start of a new era for our country, an era in which we became more acutely aware of the threats we face and the importance of being prepared for anything.
Watch this here from Charlotte, North Carolina this morning.
Hey everyone, this is Cherie from Greenworks, and we're here with the F.F. Stephen Coakley Foundation as we put down flags to represent all of the people that we lost during 9/11.
I lost my brother, Stephen Coakley, on 9/11. He was a fireman in New York, and we created the Firefighter Stephen Coakley Foundation here in Charlotte. So having all the people come out and support this event and help place flags and the victims that were lost and support our organization is incredible.
We'll go ahead and we'll mark out in the shape of the two twin towers a flag for each of the people. Once that grid is completed, which was what we're doing now, then we'll go ahead and they'll place a name tag on there that will have the photo, the name, and the place where the person was when the attack happened. They'll do a celebration of the service on 9/11, and then there's also an additional volunteer event that happens the day after when they take it down.
I work with Engine Company 217 in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, New York, and we're the junior guys at the house that Stephen Coakley was working when he died. It's a heavy day as a New Yorker and as someone who's lost somebody in my family. Like 9/11 is a special day for us, and remembering our family and our city and how cool people are and how people sacrifice their lives for others.
Our mission is just to never forget, and we need to educate the youth on what happened and how they can never forget, and so them getting involved is the highlight of today.
We'll never forget you. We will never forget your sacrifice for yourselves, your family, your companies, and your nation. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you now to please rise for the singing of the United States National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave blue through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh, yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it. America's finest right there.
America's finest. Throughout the last few years, we have lost a lot of military members as a result of our fight for freedom, as a result of men that commandeered aircraft and plowed into 3 buildings, the 2 trade towers in New York City and also the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and then a traitor to our country, someone from Saudi Arabia, had commandeered a plane and plowed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. There are memorials in each of those places now. We want to pay tribute to each one of those people that lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. May God bless your lives and your families' lives. God bless the loved ones who lost their lives. We can never forget. We can never forget what happened to them, and I personally will never forget where I was on that fateful day, helping evacuate downtown Denver. And then watching Air Force planes fly low over the city of Denver and the suburbs. President Bush ordered the ban on aircraft flight over the United States of America. And the only aircraft that were allowed in the American airspace were Air Force and Navy jet fighters, fully armed and ready to take out anybody that even came near this country or even thought about doing something to the United States of America. We can never forget, and we can never let that happen again. God bless the memories of those people. God bless the families. God bless each and every one of us. Thank you for helping me pay tribute to all those people. God bless us all. Now, folks, there's something else happening right now. Just a little over an hour ago, Hurricane Francine became a Category 2 hurricane. Hurricane Francine became a Category 2 hurricane with winds up over 100 miles per hour. I'm going to join station KATC live from Louisiana. I want you to take a look at what's happening there.
Flooding, but this does show just the damage that you can see here as these winds are coming through. We're going to walk over this way again to give you another perspective about what we're seeing over here. Like I said, we're not going to go too far, but you can see all the damage here and just the wind, sheer wind power as it is pushing these waves up. There is no more beach here. This is the most powerful gust we've felt so far today, for sure. And in the distance, the trees are completely bending in the distance. Honestly, I'm impressed that some of those on the very far side of that kind of jut out into the lake are still standing right now. But certainly seeing a lot of debris flying down here at the lake. And I'm glad that folks are inside and taking, cover. I mean, we won't go out there right now at this point. We have to stay underneath this pavilion just for our safety. And of course the safety of my cameraman here, but just a lot of damage that we're seeing here, and the sheer wind power definitely showing Francine's colors, definitely showing her strength, and definitely showing the fact that she did grow from that Cat 1 to a Cat 2. Now, Nadine, you have been also with me in Morgan City all day, seeing the progression of this storm. What are things looking like for where you are downtown?
Lillian, well, I can tell you those strong wind gusts that I can hear you dealing with, we're also seeing it here. I'm going to have my photographer turn this way. I mean, you can see it just looking at the street, the power of the wind, just moving that water. Look at all of that debris. Just 10 minutes ago, we were watching the power line shake. There it is. There's another wind gust coming through. You have debris down. Now, earlier we showed you structures that were boarded up like this. Unboarded up, it's pretty sturdy. This is actually the pavilion that we're under, but look across the street. Boards off. And it had a simple block. Top. We have a few signs over here also toppled. Now, it was the water was a stick, just to give you an idea. It's also affecting our signal. Now again, another one of those wind gusts. Another one. Look at that. Look at the debris. Just flying, guys. Stay with us. Stay with us. I know that signal is going in and out, but when we talk about the wind, the rain, it has power and it has effects on everything. Electricity, even out. But I was mentioning to you the water. I want you to come over here and see these. Ooh, that's a strong one. Strong one. We're going to have to here just to make sure I don't topple over. How strong that is. Look at that. Lillian, you mentioned it, and you can see how it's strengthened from a Category 1 to a Category 2. Look at the water just coming off the top of that building. That trash can is holding on by a string. Obviously, other news crews, you hear sounds, you hear things toppling. Can that keeps falling over, but here, look how deep. This is how deep the water is. I'm going to take a step. That's how deep it is. That's at least a foot. I can't even step in that, and that water is only continuing to grow. Now, when you turn this way, look on top of the stop sign. Metal just bending. Now, earlier, as we were on top of that seawall, and up there now, just imagine how strong that wind is on top of that. Again, Francine's coming strong and the wind is blowing. One thing we see, we have someone right there on their porch filming it. We talked to residents and they say we're used to this, so of course you have someone filming it, but that doesn't mean you guys should leave your house. Stay hunkered down. We have garbage cans, we have water in the street. The wind is coming through. We are also under a pavilion, as Lillian said, trying to stay safe. We can't even stand in that street because they talked about the strength of these winds. You're talking about more than 70 and it's toppling garbage cans. Imagine what it can do to you if you stand outside. But to us, guys, we're going to keep showing you the power of this storm. Debris everywhere, just like you even hear the whistle. Torrential down. Now, Penelope, I believe you also have an update on the storm. Penelope, what can you tell me about Francine and the power she's bringing in?
Thank you, Nadine. It's still calm here in Delcom. You know, earlier today we spoke with a shrimper here in Delcom, and he was telling me that he was going to ride it out in his boat. We're currently on his boat, so we came in to check in with him. Carlton, if you don't mind telling us, how are you feeling right now? How's it been?
Well, it's actually feeling a little relief on this end because the storm apparently went a little further east than what they was all projecting. They kept saying it may go east, and it's actually put us on the west side of the storm. So the winds are out the north and the tide's actually receding at the moment. It's starting to fall a little bit. I don't know if it'll continue, but I think we have north winds. As long as it stays on that side, I feel a little relief. I think we're going to be fine over here in Delta.
And I hope you are fine too. I hope you are safe. And just a couple of minutes ago, we saw that the boat was moving a bit. You were telling us that we were hearing some of the light upstairs. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Just when the winds blow pretty severe, you know, the more weight you got and the more things you have up in the air catching the wind, that's what's making the boat move a little bit.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting ride so far. If you can look out here, you can see that it's not raining as much. It's still calm. There are still some winds, but it's definitely calmer than Nadine shot over there. For the most part, for any updates, you can follow us on KTC's weather app. And sending it back to the studio, I'm Penelope Lopez, your Million Parish reporter.
Right, thanks, Penelope. Well, just a reminder this afternoon that schools are closed across Acadiana until the storm passes. Make sure to check your parish school board social media pages and websites for the latest on reopenings. We'll also keep you updated as information comes into our newsroom.
Is your weather authority for real-time weather updates on the weather in your area from our Acadiana weather expert team. Make sure to download the KTC weather app. You can find it for free in your mobile app store.
And let's take a look at the outage map across Louisiana. You can kind of see that outages are happening more across the state. As we mentioned earlier, if we take a look at Terrebonne, which is where Francine made landfall, right now the parish, 6,463 neighbors there are without power. And in St. Mary, 3,258 people there are currently without power. So as we continue to check these maps, we'll see probably more outages continue to happen throughout the state, and we'll keep you updated right here on KTC.
And a reminder to our neighbors, schools across Acadiana are closed until the storm passes. We are expecting updates from officials by tomorrow, Thursday. You want to stay connected by monitoring social media pages or our website at CDC.gov for the latest advisory. Lafayette Regional Airport announced that flight operations have been suspended due to Hurricane Francine. Right now on your screen, we have the contact numbers for the airlines for the latest on cancellations.
And the Louisiana National Guard has deployed more than 2,300 guardsmen to neighborhoods around Acadiana to help keep everyone safe. They are standing by and ready to offer support to anyone in need. But remember, you should be sheltering in place and waiting for officials to give the green light for you to leave your homes.
Again, the National Guard is deployed across Louisiana, including New Orleans. This hurricane, let me join them with the weatherman right now.
That this storm, Francine, has made landfall officially in Terrebonne Parish, which we've been kind of saying all along, but it's impacting St. Mary Parish awfully hard as well. Still Category 2. This is the 5 o'clock report. 100-mile-per-hour winds. They haven't changed the pressure yet. And as I indicated, it'll be another hour, maybe 2 at the max, where this is a 2. But then we do expect it to start to weaken. But it'll be a slow process as the storm will be moving over the marshy areas of southeastern Louisiana. There's more water than land. We know how it is if you're ever traveling across the river. Parish is a lot of water here. Again, 100-mile-per-hour winds. I don't think we're going to see too many of those winds working their way down to the surface, but perhaps as wind gusts not sustained winds. You see the gusts right here, 120. That's at elevated areas and more than likely offshore. Now we have the friction of land. Rule of thumb, hurricanes weaken about 5% for every 5 miles they move inland, and that's probably what we're going to see here. But in the southeastern Louisiana, it's maybe they weaken about 3% for every 5 miles per hour as you move inland. But by midnight tonight or shortly thereafter, this should be below hurricane status. But again, showing you not the cone, but the radius of tropical storm force winds. And again, from Lafayette on southeastward. But this is the area you don't want to be in, the area of orange. That's where your hurricane force winds and wind gusts will continue to exist. There have been no changes to the watches and warnings per the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. The New Orleans metro area is still in a hurricane watch, and if Francine maintains itself a little bit longer than anticipated, that could go to a hurricane warning, but I think they're going to stick with tropical storm warnings over there and a hurricane watch for now. Now, as we mentioned, most of the winds offshore now beginning to abate as the storm moves inland. The closest one we have to the coast at about 49 miles per hour at Ship Shoal 241. We've seen gusts out here as high as 100 to 112 at elevation, 100 feet up or so. But inland, this is what we're most concerned with, and we've been seeing the winds gusting at the Patterson Airport. That gives us regular updates, 53, 55, 62. So that is very close to hurricane force. So that is why we're seeing the worst part of it, where we're seeing the heaviest rainfall. And here is the eye. Here's the donut of destruction. Although it's not a full donut, it looks like somebody took Homer Simpson took a bite out of this one. But nonetheless, this is what you don't want to be involved with. And that heaviest rain bands span from Marsh Island up to the northwestern portions of St. Mary Parish. Don't think it's going to work its way too far northward. We'll put this in motion shortly into Iberia Parish, and then as we get into Lower St. Martin Parish, Terrebonne Parish, Lafourche Parish, also getting hit very hard with this storm as it comes on through. So we're going to take our storm chaser just in a second, but here is the worst winds right now as we've been watching this during the course of the afternoon. And let's go ahead and bring in the velocity data right here. And we have Jacob in around the Houma area, and let's just query that right now. We're seeing velocities right around the 100 mile per hour range. So Jacob Wallace in the KTC Hurricane Tracker. Jacob, what are you seeing?
I'm off of West Tunnel Boulevard in Houma right now, and actually I come over here because the fire department was trying to make entry to this building that is right behind me. I'm unsure why they were dispatched out, but they tried to make entry in the building for a while. They have since left, so I don't think anybody was stuck inside or anything. But I definitely believe you on the query there. The storm chaser is facing into the wind right now for safety reasons, so you can really see that rain whipping into the windshield right now, and the trees moving. Like I said, we still have the power lines are kind of moving a little bit here, but power is still on at this street. So we do have it looks like down the road there the street lights just went on and off. They started flashing there. So lots of whipping rain. Like I said earlier, thankfully not a lot of people, or no one on the road actually. Not a lot of, definitely not a lot of people with no one on the road. The fire department and local EMS are the only people I've seen out. But you definitely want to stay hunkered down and indoors, kind of in a safe space when a storm like this is blowing through. Rob?
Well, thanks, Jacob. Again, thank you for going out there.
Okay, I want to pause the audio here. I want to show you what's actually going on. Those areas in red and orange here, those are severe thunderstorms. The eye of the hurricane has now made its way onto land as of about an hour and a half ago. This hurricane is spinning off great big huge thunderstorms, and with those thunderstorms come lightning and also tornadoes. We may see some tornadoes here within the next few hours. I want to put that out there to warn everybody that may be listening, or your families or your friends that are over here in the New Madrid area, meaning the area around Louisiana here, Terrebonne County, Montgomery City here. This is a very dangerous area. You need to stay in your homes. It's very dangerous. Winds of up over 100 miles per hour. Some winds are not as strong as others, but there is debris flying through the air that can hurt you and to kill you. Stay indoors. Your best place indoors is the center of your homes. Stay away from windows. Completely stay out of the way of windows. Anything flying through the air can be coming through that glass, and unless you've secured those windows with either shutters and or plywood covers over those glass windows, you're liable to see your windows blown out. Stay indoors, stay in the center of your home, make sure you still have water and food to get you through at least today and tomorrow. Stay indoors until the authorities in your areas have given you the all clear it's okay to come out. Then watch for debris. Like I said last night, watch for debris. Debris can hurt you. Tomorrow it may not be flying, but it's still on the ground. We're also worried about animals, wildlife, alligators on the ground. Be careful with what you see and what you do. Alligators and snakes are very common in these areas, as well as coyotes and wolves. Not so much wolves, but there are wolves in that area. Be careful. Be very careful with what you do. Okay? Now, just a minute ago, one of you were asking about the hurricanes out in the Atlantic Ocean. There is no one that should be concerned for this week about hurricanes or tropical storms coming in from the Atlantic Ocean. You don't have to be worried about it for right now, not until at least next week. And we will be talking about it next week, I can promise you that. There will be storms, and there is 2 storms that are developing, one closer to Africa right now, but the other one is out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The other is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it will pose a hazard to possibly Puerto Rico. It will pose a hazard to possibly Cuba and Florida starting next week. We don't know for sure exactly when. It depends on the forward speed of that storm. Right now we don't have anything to worry about. I promise you that. There is nothing to worry about with that storm at all. Okay? Now that might sound like a little bit harsh talk, but right now we don't have anything to worry about. Nothing. Not a thing. This is a storm that I'm talking about. This storm with the yellow X. The red X is probably going to peter out and be nothing. But the yellow X is developing. There's a 30% chance that it will develop within the next 48 hours. Scientists and forecasters, the National Hurricane Center, is watching that storm. Right now it's not even a tropical depression. Right now it's just a unknown tropical storm out there in the Atlantic Ocean. Everybody's going to be watching it for next week. Right now it's nowhere near land. As it gets closer to the western side of the Atlantic Ocean and it gets into the Gulf Stream area where the waters are warmer in the Atlantic Ocean, and it may push over into the Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico, it's a different story. If it pushes over into the Gulf of Mexico, it will possibly turn into a hurricane. but we're probably not even close to seeing anything like that until at least Monday. We will watch it and we'll bring more information to you as things develop. My dear wife is here in the chat. Thank you so much, Carol, for being here. Carol's been watching me pull information here all day long. She sat across from me a few hours earlier, as I did an update on Hurricane Francine right after it became a Category 2 hurricane storm. A very dangerous storm of up over 100 mile per hour winds. Right now the eye of the storm is up over Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Do any of you have any questions that I can answer for you? Does anyone have any questions I can answer for you right now? Now this picture I pulled about 3 or 4 hours ago before the storm made its way over into Louisiana. The outer bands of the hurricane had already hit the shoreline. There were storm winds of upwards of 40-45 miles an hour. All that has completely changed, with now winds over the shoreline in excess of 70 miles an hour. Okay? My son is here. Thank you, Paul. We appreciate you being here. Paul Cole is my son, and I love him very much, and I appreciate him being here. My family supports me in what we're doing here, helping all of you. Okay? That's what's going on here. Does anybody have any questions about the hurricane or even the storms coming in next week? I don't expect any of the storms next week to come in before Monday. And I don't expect landfall before midweek or end of the week next week. It's funny, my wife is here welcoming our son into the chat. Sorry about that. Welcome, Paul. I love you, brother. He's a good man. He's a very good man. Now, folks, we also have some other things happening. We have a severe firestorm in California, Southern California. Southern California is literally on fire. It is literally on fire everywhere. Okay? I popped into KCAL television earlier today. The area around Lake Elsinore, Riverside County is on fire. Homes are on fire. The fire departments are trying to do property protection. Property protection where they stay near the houses to fend off the flames. But people have lost their homes over in California. A lot of people lost their homes in California. It's terrible. We see that every year. We see these fires every year, and it doesn't get any easier reporting on it. I fought fires in California myself. It's not fun. It is not fun at all. Now, these fires are going to continue for a long time. This is only getting into mid-September. We're only at September 11th. This may get a lot worse before it gets better. I've seen it happen before. When I was in San Diego, we had times where fires were in San Diego County. a lot of bad things happen. I fought fires in San Diego. I fought fires in Los Angeles. I was on the fire line as a communications specialist, setting up communication command posts all over Southern California. Wherever there was a fire, I had my pickup truck and my police partner and I setting up communications. At that point in time, I had a great big huge map on the side of my truck. I had a camper shell on the truck. I had a great big huge map on the truck showing Southern California. I had pins in the map showing where every fire company was, every firefighter. I showed where those firefighters were, and I had them pinpointed with names. On my clipboard, I had the fire companies. The fire companies, I had each name of the fireman listed with that fire company. We had fire line crews fighting with shovels and picks and axes. I showed those as well. I showed police officers, sheriff's deputies, and fire trucks all throughout the area. And when we had fire crews from the National Guard and CAL FIRE, I also showed those. Now, when we got into digital after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, I pinpointed those same crews with not just pins, but we had a video map showing where those crews were. Wherever we did a drill, a disaster drill, I showed fire companies, I showed police officers, I showed National Guard troops with pinpointed on the map, and I had names of people that were assigned there. If we moved those people away, I moved them on the map. When we announced that there were people killed, not actually killed, but for the drill purposes, people die, I had to keep track of that as well. They're doing the same now. They're doing the same now. Now, I want to bring in more information here.
Thanks for joining us for the news at 6.
I'm going to show you some video here from KABC in Los Angeles. KABC in Los Angeles. I want to show you the video from the fire scenes in Los Angeles, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and Orange County, California. Please stand by.
Thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Alicia Machado. We start tonight with breaking news.
Yeah, and I'm Luke Clary. We're continuing to track that fast-growing fire in Lake County. The Boyles fire. It started just before 3, and at last check is burning in more than 76 acres. It's burning on Dam Road next to Clear Lake. CAL FIRE said that there are multiple spot fires in the area, and around 30 structures are on fire. 4,000 residents have been affected by evacuations. As of right now, the fire is 10% contained. The cause is under investigation. And evacuation orders for Clear Lake are in place right now inside of Highway 53 on the west, Dam Road on the south, Boyles Avenue on the east, and 32nd Avenue on the north. A temporary evacuation shelter is located at Twin Pine Casino. More than 8,000 PG&E customers are currently without power. We have a crew heading there right now, so stay with us for updates on air and online at abc10.com.
Meanwhile, the live fire burning in San Bernardino County expanding overnight. Governor Gavin Newsom announcing a state of emergency late last night. Evacuation orders are in effect as the fire continues to grow, now at more than 17,000 acres in size with no containment. The governor says more firefighting resources are headed to Southern California. Now, CAL FIRE says at least 3 people have been injured by the fire. No word just yet on if any structures have been damaged. On the heels of a hot weekend, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods is tracking conditions.
And we're continuing to track those fire conditions as well as the smoke. We've got two fires in particular. One, the Boyles fire that you just mentioned, that is going to be near Clear Lake. Also, the Davis fire putting off a tremendous amount of smoke. But because of the winds, it's generally been pushing its way east. So a lot of that smoke from the bigger fire, the Davis fire, has been over towards the Nevada side of the Sierra Nevada. As far as the smoky conditions locally, we'll pick up just a little bit of haziness for tonight, but a red flag warning still in effect for parts of the Sierra, mainly the Front Range there through 8 o'clock tonight with the potential for more rapid fire spread. Here's a look at that Davis fire and all the smoke that is moving over towards the Nevada side of that fire. We've seen peak wind gusts upwards of 26 miles per hour, 28 mile per hour peak wind gusts for Truckee, and 33 for South Lake Tahoe. So a gusty day there. Locally, those winds fairly light, and that has meant a very warm weekend. We're still looking at temperatures in the 90s to near 100 throughout the valley and towards the coastal valley region. Only 63 though for San Francisco. And we are going to tap into some of that cool air. It's going to take another day or so to do so. Overnight lows dropping into the 60s, highs tomorrow still approaching the upper 90s. We'll talk about our cooler and, for some of us, showery weather ahead.
Hey boss, $50. Let me get your backpack.
I can't allow those commercials to play with the audio.
Putting out hotspots where a fast-moving fire destroyed more than 24 structures in that Clear Lake neighborhood.
NBC Bay Area's Jody Hernandez is live in Clear Lake with more. And Jody, firefighters are getting the upper hand today, but so much devastation in just 24 hours.
That's right. This neighborhood, I'm told, is called the Avenues, and tonight it is a complete disaster zone. Homes are either left in ashes, like this one behind us, or they're covered in paint from the retardant that was dropped out here. The Boyles fire burned hot and fast through here, leaving a path of destruction.
We just looked out and there was just flames everywhere, probably like 30 feet flames. It was just hectic. There was fire everywhere. It's behind us, then it came to the side of us. It's crazy.
Tiffany Luvano describes how quickly the Boyles fire came roaring through her Clear Lake neighborhood. It started down the street. She says she ran to try to help her neighbor evacuate when it came toward her house.
By the time we got back, it was too late to do anything. It was already right behind us. It was moving faster than we were.
Luvano says she threw what she could in her truck and had her daughter drive out while she and her son escaped on their dirt bikes. Their helmets are covered in pink from the retardant dropped from above.
I was really scared that our house was going to burn down, and I didn't know what to do.
Luckily, their house is still standing, but many of their neighbors' homes are gone. The fire destroyed 30 structures. Neighbors tell us many were not insured because the area is considered a high-risk fire zone, and many homeowners have been dropped by their insurance companies.
I've been through so many of these fires, but yet I've been spared, and I sat on my deck yesterday and just wept for all these people. I just lost everything. In just a matter of seconds. It went so fast.
Lisa Cole was too rattled to show us her face on camera. Her house was spared, but she says the fire was terrifying.
Okay, that was up there in Northern California, around Clear Lake. What I'm going to show you now may leave you stunned. I'm going to show you the report from KCAL in Los Angeles about the fires over there in Los Angeles area.
From 138 all the way back to town, one long line.
Wow, well, where are you now, Mr. Quezada?
I'm in Palmville. I got out because when I got there, they wouldn't let me to my street, which is on the west side of town, the second to the last street. So I went the back way, knowing I could walk across the ravine to get to my street. When I did that, the fireman swore me and said, "You gotta go." And at that time, I looked up, the fire was on the ridge across the street, and the winds were really swirling. And they said, "You gotta go now." And I ran back to my car, got in a car, and headed back. But I want to praise those firemen. They they were all over the place to make sure the homes were protected as well as possible. My neighbor sent me a link that there was a fire at the bottom of the hill on Highway 2 at Flume, which is one street over, and that was all on fire.
And Mr. Casella, do you know whether your home is okay at this time?
Yes, I'm home. I have my security cameras on. I'm checking them periodically, and I see no action. I see no fire trucks in front of my house that tells me there's no fire around my house.
So
at this point.
So that's good news. That means the utilities are up, at least the Wi-Fi is working, and you can see your cameras are showing you that the area around your house, at least for now, is safe, right?
Yes, hopefully it stays that way. I've been to 2 fires, and that's the side of town, and they knocked them out so quick. So I have great praise for our firefighters to protect our homes. You can't save everybody, but this is the worst. I've been there for 12 years. This is the worst I've ever seen. How dark and red. It just...
We're sorry that you have to watch this, Mr. Quesada, but at least thank goodness that your home is okay. What about your neighbors? Can you see their homes around you? Is it the area where you are that's been relatively safe?
Yes. The only change I saw was on the hillside next to the homes at the last street. And that was it. And the firefighters were looking north at the peak. See if things were coming over. So that's when they told me, you gotta get out of here. You can't go to your house. You gotta go. So the drive there was for naught, but I'm glad I got to see the street intact for now, and they're doing what they do. The
Absolutely.
Are up there. Everybody's up there. They got to tone the town down. We were the last people to leave, but that line out of that town was long, all the way from 130 all into town. One line.
I think you said, are you with your girlfriend?
Yes.
Well, that's good. Yes. All right. So Mr. Quesada, then the good thing here is that your home is still intact. Mm-hmm. You got out and you are with somebody that you care about. So you guys are together. Wondering.
Absolutely.
Okay. We just want to count those little blessings when we can get them. So just wanted to point that out to you. Was there any way that you could get something that you really needed? And I'm thinking in terms of medicine or really important papers. Was that something that was very important to you or not?
Well, the few things I wanted to do, I have real tapes of my music of my entire life. So I wanted to get those tapes out of there. I wasn't able to do that. And my almost new Can-Am motorcycle is in the garage. I was trying to get that out too. But it's still there. So hopefully we'll be okay.
Indeed.
Well, keep us posted, Mr. Quesada.
You got it. And God bless our firefighters.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, critical fire weather is with us at least through tomorrow.
And KCAL meteorologist Evelyn Taft has our next weather forecast. Evelyn, we left here last night. I didn't expect that this was going to happen today.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we are really, none of us, even in the last few hours, we've seen these changes. And here we are in Lake Elsinore, right? And we are getting a look at the current conditions. And as we do, you'll see 83 degrees along the fire line, so it's still really warm. And remember, we are tracking 3 fires at the moment, but we are taking a look at the latest conditions in Lake Elsinore, where wind is calm and humidity is at 33%. So, of course, with evacuations happening, smoke continues to be a concern, along with fire and people leaving the area. For example, we were just talking about residents in Wrightwood. Well, I personally know a friend who just left Wrightwood, went to Palm Springs to try to get away, of course, and vacate and evacuate. and they're dealing with smoke in the Coachella Valley and pretty bad smoke. So really, anywhere you go in Southern California, we're looking at really tough conditions, even if you're not along the immediate fire line. Let's take a closer look at what's happening right here, and you will see wind is mostly calm, and it's slated to stay calm throughout the night for the most part. Wrightwood, we are seeing wind gusts, which is not good, of course, because that is really where we want to see calm conditions wind-wise. And right now we're at 19 miles per hour. I'm going to step off and show you relative humidity right now. We're in the single digits in Malibu. Of course, no fire to speak of, and we want to keep it that way, but we don't want single digit relative humidity. We do want relative humidity to be in the double digits, and generally speaking, that is the case tonight. We're at 36% for Big Bear, and as we head to the IE, you're going to see we're mostly in the 20 to 30% range. Air quality continues to be a big concern for all of us. Through the San Gabriel Valley, the LA County mountains right there, Orange County, and all of the IE predominantly through Riverside County, also through San Bernardino County, the Coachella Valley, we're looking at very poor air quality, and that air quality alert has now been extended through tomorrow night. So that wildfire smoke is continuing to increase air pollution at least through then. So certainly be careful if you plan to be outside. As we take a look at your futurecast right here, you will see the heaviest smoke starting to come through the IE and continuing. This has been the case the last couple of hours, and it will continue to be the case as we head to the next couple of hours. You'll see the worst of the smoke through the Inland Empire and through our Santa Ana mountain and foothill communities as well. Let's take a closer look at that red flag warning. Yes, it remains in effect for the LA County mountains, but pretty much critical fire weather really stays with us through tomorrow night. Wind speeds calm with the exception of the high desert. We're keeping our eyes on the high desert where we are looking at windy conditions for the next couple of days. Good news as far as the firefight goes, and we always want to hear good news, is temperatures are really starting to cool. They cooled today, and they're going to continue to cool tomorrow. You'll notice right here that we were about 10 degrees cooler on average. Even more so, Pasadena, 21 degrees cooler. This is really now compared to this time last night. It's going to continue to cool. We're looking at southerly winds. That's your marine layer that's going to come in and keep temperatures nice and cool compared to where we've been. We're already in the 60s closer to the coast. And as we head into the basin, Orange County in the 70s, far departure from the 80s and 90s we were seeing in the overnight hours. The IE, as we mentioned, in the 80s tonight. We will start to see a little more cooling overnight. Palm Springs, though, at a hot 100. And yes, we are looking at smoke advantage.
The temperatures are going to remain fairly cooler, much cooler than they have been. Overnight temperatures are dipping into the low 60s. Here in North Carolina, we've had temperatures today in the upper 70s, and temperatures at night going down to 50, 54, 55 degrees. That's the difference between here and California. But here in Southern California, it's bad. It's bad. These temperatures are just beginning. Okay? Yes, it's been much hotter than this, but I need to remind everybody, fire weather changes everything. The fire builds up its own weather system. Where there is fire, there's heavy smoke and also very hot conditions. And the fire can turn that area into really an inferno in no time at all. I want to remind you, there are power outages in this area as well. A lot of power outages. Arnold Schmidt is asking Ron how many power outages are reported so far. It's undetermined. About, I think, the last count earlier this afternoon was over 10,000 people without power, according to Southern California Edison and Pacific Gas and Electric. 10,000 people without power. Honestly, that is not bad for this time of year. With the fire seasons, we've seen the power outages go up to almost 1 million people without power. Now they've turned off the power in some areas. They've turned off the power in some areas because of high winds. That has probably saved a lot of people. That has probably saved a lot of people from their houses and property burning. Is it going to happen? Possibly. It might possibly still happen. But right now, I think the firefighters and authorities are doing a very awesome job considering the information that I've seen and the information I just showed you. We need to remember where we're at. This is Southern California fire season. It's a completely different animal from anything else we've seen. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about the fires in California? I want to thank my dear friend Hurricane Heather for getting me information about fires as well. Hurricane Heather lives in fire season almost all the time in Northern California. She is very familiar with fire, and we also have our friends up in Oregon that help keep us informed on what's going on there. I appreciate all of you being part of our EMA family, giving us information. Now, I want to talk about some earthquakes as well. So let's leave the fires, let's leave the hurricane for right now. We'll get back with KATC in Louisiana in a little bit, but I want to talk about earthquakes. Yes, we've had a lot of earthquakes today. Let me take down my mug here and our EMA banner here, and I want to show you earthquakes. Okay, first I'm going to start off here in the United States to tell you and show you what is happening. We need to make sure we understand everything that's going on. Okay? Now first I want to show you about that earthquake that happened up in Idaho, north central Idaho, Stanley, Idaho. Now this is west of Yellowstone. This is west of Chalice National Park. Chalice National Park to the east of this earthquake is the edge of the Yellowstone magma chamber. Chalice National Forest is the edge of the Yellowstone magma chamber. Where this earthquake hit, this is a 3.0 earthquake. Where this earthquake hit, this is a earthquake fault earthquake. You can see the earthquake faults all throughout this area on the map. This was a 3.0 earthquake. This is 13 kilometers deep. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. We go out here to the east. This is Hebgen Lake Estates in Yellowstone, just west Yellowstone. Hebgen Lake Estates. Over here in 1959, there was a 7.1 earthquake. Authorities believe now that that earthquake was probably closer to an 8.0. 1959. A great big huge quake. But it was not volcanic related. That earthquake was not volcanic related at all. Okay? This is a earthquake here in a earthquake zone, an earthquake fault zone here near Hebgen Lake. This is a very mountainous region. Okay? Today we have this 1.6 tremor here. 1.6 tremor. This is actually north of Hebgen Lake. USGS has this 5 kilometers east of Hebgen Lake. It's not. You can see Hebgen Lake to the south of this earthquake. Again, you can't trust USGS for anything. They show us an earthquake, but they have it wrong as to placement. Okay? Hebgen Lake is down here. The earthquake that hit in 1959 was at least a 7.1 to an 8.0 earthquake. This is where it hit. Cabins fell in landslides. Cabins fell off the hillsides into Hebgen Lake during and after the earthquake. The highway system, the road system here, also fell into the lake. I have pictures of the highway system going into the lake during the earthquake. Okay? A massive earthquake. The earthquake was felt all the way up into Canada. The earthquake was felt all the way down into St. George, Utah, in southern Utah. That's how powerful this earthquake was. It was not volcanic related. It had nothing to do with Yellowstone. I want to make sure everybody understands that. It had absolutely nothing to do with the Yellowstone volcano. Whenever we talk about Yellowstone, we have people that get scared. You don't have a reason to be scared, okay? Even the USGS is not showing any, or hardly any earthquakes here. South of Yellowstone, this is Mobac, Wyoming. Mobac, Wyoming, just north of Utah. This is a 2.4 minor earthquake here, 4.6 kilometers deep, just over 2 miles deep. Okay? Again, out here in Idaho, this is a 3.0 in Stanley, Idaho. Now, USGS is not going to show hardly any other earthquakes in Yellowstone. There are earthquakes here. They are tremors. They are tremors. There's nothing more than a 2.4 earthquake in Yellowstone. Nothing larger than a 2.4 earthquake in Yellowstone. I promise you that. All the other seismic activity is all tremors related. Tremors, 1.0 to 1.9 in magnitude. Tremors. No one feels those earthquakes. No one. No one is sensitive enough to feel these tremors. No one is even sensitive enough to feel a 2.0 to 2.9. Most people feel earthquakes when they're 3.0 and larger. 3.0 and larger. Usually you feel those because what happens is you feel rumbling beneath your feet when there's a 3.0 to 3.5 earthquake. Any larger than that, the knickknack starts flying off the shelves, things start rattling around. When you get to 4.0 to 4.9, which I still consider to be moderate earthquakes, then you have that knickknacks and books flying off the shelves, plates and dishes rattling around in the cupboards, and pictures and plaques falling off the walls. Those are moderate earthquakes. Now remember this. I want you to remember this. Back in 2014, Los Angeles had a 4.5 earthquake. The area of downtown Los Angeles had a 4.5 earthquake. That earthquake broke gas mains. That earthquake not just broke gas mains, but it broke water mains. Streets were flooded because of that earthquake. Pavement broke. More than that, glass broke all around the city. I was asked by LA to come out there and help them with that earthquake resolution, earthquake assessment. Now, I did come out there, but then again, I got attacked because I did not tell LA to move the great big huge power station, which is a oil and gas refinery in the middle of Los Angeles, right next to the 405 and the 5 freeways. I did not tell them to move that gas and oil refinery out of that area. Now, I have no authority to say that. I can make assessments, I can help them assess where they are, but I cannot move oil and gas pipelines. That costs billions and billions of dollars. The oil and gas refinery in Los Angeles that everybody was worried about was there before the houses in that area were there. People bought homes near that oil and gas refinery. They built freeways there. People that are worried about that oil and gas refinery should petition the city and the county of Los Angeles to move it. But again, you need to do that. You need to know this. Moving oil and gas refineries costs billions and billions and billions of dollars. You can't just up and move an oil and gas refinery. You have to build another one in another location. You have to go through all kinds of rigmarole and actually acts of Congress to move an oil and gas refinery. It has to be approved by the states. It has to be pre-approved by the government before you can do that. But I was getting criticized because I did not tell the city and county of Los Angeles to move the refinery. things happened there in 2014. A 4.5 earthquake. 4.5 earthquakes can cause massive damage. Usually they don't. They cause bookshelves to rattle, forcing books and knickknacks to fall, pictures and picture frames, plaques to fall on the ground as well, and dishes and plates to rattle around the cupboards. Rarely, if ever, does it make any more damage than that, but occasionally it does happen. Arnold Smith says a home built with concrete would not be totally destroyed. Possibly. Possibly. That depends on who built the home and when it was built, or who built the building and when it was built. Earthquake standards. There was a building that I helped build in San Diego County. There have been several 5.0 earthquakes all over San Diego County. What happened then? I'll tell you. That building was built with cinder block. That building was built with cinder block. Reinforced steel through the cinder block and concrete. Every cell in those cinder block had been filled in, and still there were cracks in the cinder block as a result of large 5.0 to 5.6, 5.7 earthquakes. The building was closed down for about a year and a half until there was an assessment done and the building was reinforced again. Again, building codes. Building codes. Okay? Arnold Smith is asking no insurance because of high-risk zone. What are you paying these corrupt insurance companies if they refuse to offer coverage? In Southern California, there are a lot of insurance companies that have canceled coverage for earthquake insurance. They have canceled coverage for earthquake insurance, and in many places you cannot get earthquake insurance at all in Southern California. This earthquake that I'm showing you here, this is Templeton, California. Templeton, California, guys. Templeton, California here is still north of Los Angeles. This is actually north of Santa Barbara here. This is also on a fault zone here. Okay, I've got this fault zone here, located here. It's on the west Huasana fault zone. Huasana fault zone. Okay? This is west along the coastline of California there. Okay? That was a 2.2 earthquake. Just north of that on the San Andreas Fault, Parkfield, California. This is the United States and the California capital of earthquakes. Parkfield, California. This is a 1.4 tremor on the San Andreas Fault in Parkfield, California, the capital of California earthquakes and the capital of earthquakes in the United States. Parkfield has more earthquakes there than any other place in the U.S. Okay? Then we come down here to Los Angeles, where we're having the fires. This is Highland Park, California, Pasadena, California. Okay? They're not showing the earthquakes up on the other side over in San Bernardino County. This is Pasadena. This is a 1.6 tremor. Why are we having earthquakes here? A few weeks ago we had a 5.0 earthquake here. A 5.0 earthquake here in Pasadena. Up in the Grapevine, we had another large earthquake there. These two areas, the Grapevine and Pasadena, California, are going to continue to see aftershocks from those earthquakes. Everybody needs to understand that. But USGS is still not showing all the earthquakes here either. They're not. They never will. I want to now go over to Ontario, California. This is San Bernardino County. Ontario, California, this is a 1.8 tremor. This is not the only earthquake here. I'm going to tomorrow hopefully show you earthquakes here in Southern California. This is not the only earthquake here in Ontario. Folks, they have been having earthquakes here since we had a 4.5 over here just north and east of here on the San Andreas Fault. Ontario, California is on fire literally with earthquakes. Earthquakes. Okay? It's going to continue to do that until we have a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. To the north and east, Little Creek, California. This is over on the San Andreas Fault here. This is a 1.1 tremor. This is 12 kilometers deep. 12 kilometers deep. North of there, also on the San Andreas, this is Parablossom, California. We get earthquakes here all the time. This is a 1.1 tremor. Further south, now we are into the Redlands. Redlands, California. This earthquake is on the San Jacinto Fault. This is a 1.7 tremor here. Just north and east of there, is Mentone, California. 1.0 tremor here. South of there, Yucaipa. Yucaipa with a 0.8 microquake. South and west of there, Calamasa, California. Calamasa is a small town there in Southern California. It's also an RV and golf resort. A 0.8 microquake there. To the east, Beaumont, California. Good old Beaumont, California. This is just west of the San Andreas Fault. A 1.0 tremor. Then we go completely south here. Banning, California. Banning, California is also on the San Jacinto Fault. A 0.7 microquake here. Then we drop down into Idlewild, California, the San Bernardino Mountain area. This is a 1.0 tremor here. Also 16 kilometers deep, 8 miles deep. We come over here to the west of there. Valley Vista, California, a 1.0 tremor here. Further south, now we're into Fallbrook, California in San Diego County. This is a 0.5 microquake. Right next to it, also in Fallbrook, is a 2.3 earthquake. 2.3 minor earthquake here. We go further south here. The Anza Gap. The Anza Gap. The Anza Borrego Desert State Park in San Diego County. Northeastern San Diego County. That is a 1.2, 13 kilometers deep, 6.5 miles deep. South of there, Borrego Springs. Borrego Springs. This is on the San Jacinto Fault, guys. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. Right next to it is a 0.8 microquake here. Further south, also in Borrego Springs, the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. This is a 1.2 tremor, also on the San Andreas Fault. I'm sorry, not San Andreas, San Jacinto Fault. San Jacinto Fault. This is a 0.7 also in the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. Okay? Now I'm going to go south into Imperial County here. This is not Ocotillo Wells. USGS has this as a 1.1 tremor near Ocotillo Wells. This is not. This is southwest of Salton City. Southwest of Salton City. Salton City is over here right next to the Salton Sea. Salton City used to be a thriving small community here. Now it's a ghost town. Now this area is a ghost town. But This earthquake is southwest of Salton City, not over in Ocotillo Wells. Ocotillo Wells is further south. Now there is an earthquake over here just south of the Salton Sea that I want to talk about. This is Westmoreland. Westmoreland. This is a 1.8 tremor. Westmoreland. Why is this important? Folks, let's back out here. On the east side of the Salton Sea, you see the San Andreas Fault. Further north there on the San Andreas Fault, where it enters the Imperial Valley, they call it the Imperial Fault. If you hear the word Imperial Fault or the San Andreas Fault here in Imperial Valley, it is one and the same. Now the San Andreas Fault goes down here to this area here. Okay? This is a famous area. There used to be a spa here. There used to be a spa here. This is where the San Andreas Fault dips underneath the Salton Sea. It dips underneath the Salton Sea. Down here, further south, over here in Calipatria, the San Andreas Fault, i.e., otherwise aka known as the Imperial Fault, comes out from underneath the Salton Sea, and then it makes an abrupt turn to the southwest and goes down here to Westmoreland. This is a 1.8 tremor here in Westmoreland, California, Southern California, Imperial Valley. Today, here in the Imperial Valley, there's probably close to 300 earthquakes, though USGS will never admit to it. USGS will never admit to it. Calipatria here, right up here, Calipatria, where the San Andreas Fault comes out from underneath the Salton Sea. Calipatria has 75 to 100 earthquakes here by itself. 75 to 100 earthquakes here by itself. Calipatria, California. Westmoreland here, they have a bunch of tremors usually. They also have earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes here all the time. All the time. USGS will never admit to anything happening here. They never will. We can go further south. We can go further south here to the town of Imperial. The town of Imperial has a seismograph here as well. The town of Imperial has earthquakes and tremors here every day. Probably 30 to 40 earthquakes and tremors happening here in the town of Imperial every day. Every day. Okay? Now, I want to drop down here. This is a town of El Centro. This is a city. This is a thriving city here. Probably close to 35 to 50,000 people living here in El Centro today. El Centro is also a place where the Navy has an air base. Just west of the city of El Centro is El Centro Naval Air Station. El Centro services El Centro Naval Air Station with airmen and seamen. Now, why is this important? Because, folks, after the last 6 months, El Centro's been getting hit with 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes every day. Many times a day. The last time I checked, there were over 25 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here in El Centro. Our EMA family member here in El Centro tells us every time he's in to our chat room that there's plenty of earthquakes here in El Centro, and he and his family feel them. Juanito and his family feel them every day. Probably 30 earthquakes a day here in El Centro, and that's just a 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes. That is not counting the tremors. That is not counting the tremors. With the tremors, there are probably 50 to 60 earthquakes here in El Centro today. Today. Then we can go out here almost straight east from El Centro. This is Holtville, California. Holtville, California is home to the Salton Sea Desert Research Station. Salton Sea Desert Research Station. There's also another seismograph here. There's 25 to 30 earthquakes here every day in Holtville. USGS will never admit to that either. I can pull seismograph after seismograph and pull the seismographs. I can show you the earthquakes here every day. But again, USGS will never admit to it. Not going to happen. They're showing one earthquake here in the Imperial Valley where there's really approximately 300 earthquakes here every day. Okay? I want to show you that. Now, I forgot to show you one other one here off the coast of Imperial Beach, California. Off the coast of Imperial Beach, San Diego County. This is a 1.4 tremor. This is just barely off the coast of Imperial Beach. 13 kilometers west-southwest of Imperial Beach, California. This is 15 kilometers deep. Okay? Notice where the Bay of San Diego is. San Diego Bay is right here. I want to show you this. Right here is the San Diego Naval Station. Naval Station, San Diego. There are several thousand naval troops stationed here at Naval Station, San Diego. On the piers here, there's probably close to 20 ships in port at any one time. Sometimes a lot less than that when there's a deployment. But this is where they service the ships. They bring them into port, they service the ships, and then they send them back out. Naval Station, San Diego. There are earthquakes here as well, but USBS and Caltech and the Scripps Institute will never admit to it. They'll never admit to it. The Scripps Institute of Oceanography has seismographs all over San Diego County. Literally all over San Diego County, including northeast of there. Northeast of there. Right up here. Right up here. Now we're looking at Mission Valley. Mission Valley, San Diego. Over at the San Diego Gas and Electric building here, there is another seismograph. How about that? It's in the control room of San Diego Gas and Electric. And usually Caltech does not show much of anything going on here. But usually there are enough tremors here in San Diego City, they show up on the seismograph here at San Diego Gas and Electric. Maybe tomorrow when I show you the seismograph, you'll see what's going on here in San Diego. Okay? There's a couple other seismographs located in East San Diego County over in Santee we might visit as well. But that's what's going on here. Now let's go south. Much further south. I want to take you now over to the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand. Again, they're not showing all the earthquakes here either. This is a 4.6 earthquake. A 4.6 moderate earthquake here. This is a semi-deep earthquake. 419 kilometers deep. 4.6 earthquake, 419 kilometers deep. A moderately deep earthquake. North of there, over here in Fiji, we see a 4.4 earthquake. These are not the only earthquakes that are here. This 4.4 is a very deep earthquake. This is 603 kilometers deep, a very deep earthquake. This 4.4 is going to be responsible for a 5.6, 5.7 earthquake. That 5.6 to 5.7 earthquake is possibly going to happen in this area, possibly including Tonga, possibly going over into Vanuatu where you see this earthquake to the west. It can also go southwest over into the Loyalty Islands. It could also go southwest into Australia. It could go southwest into Papua New Guinea. Now, it might. Today we have bigger earthquakes to talk about here. Over here, this is a 5.8 earthquake or I should say, it's in the Pacific Ocean, and it's 100 kilometers, about 80 miles east-northeast of Luganville, Vanuatu. There's a swarm of earthquakes here. This is a 5.8 earthquake. This is also 13 kilometers deep. South of there, right here, this is a 5.1 earthquake. Luganville, Vanuatu, on land. This is on land. There are people that live here. There are people that live here, guys. People felt this quake, a large 5.1 earthquake. Now, it came out as a larger 5.3. I have not had the chance to look at the parameters of this earthquake, but I will tonight. But the people here in Luganville, Vanuatu felt this quake. There's a village of people living here, a small city. They felt this quake as well. Further north here, other small villages here. If you study Vanuatu long enough, you'll find that there are a lot of people living in Vanuatu, but they're living in all of the islands of Vanuatu. Okay? This is a relatively small island over here in the South Pacific. But there still are numerous people living here. Now, this earthquake occurred on the northeast part of the island. People way down here to the south may not have felt it. They might have, but they might not have as well. They might not have felt it. Right here. I want to show you this because I don't frequently get to show you this. This is a volcano. And this volcano over in Luganville, Vanuatu is steaming. It is almost always steaming. It's had very little activity except for steaming activity in a very long time. But I want to show you this because we don't frequently talk about it. All of the islands of the South Pacific were made through volcanic action. So we had a 5.1 earthquake over here in Luganville, Vanuatu, and north of there, a 5.8. The ocean waters here with this earthquake probably absorbed 90% of the shaking from this earthquake. 98% of the shaking waves from this earthquake. However, there's another earthquake here. This is a 5.8 earthquake here. Now we've had a 5.7, a 5.1, and this 5.8 earthquake here. Again, it's on land. It's on land, folks. Now you can see, I don't believe this is anywhere near any settlements here. But it's still a 5.8 earthquake nonetheless. 5.8 earthquakes are large earthquakes. Very large earthquakes. Regardless of what USGS wants to call them. Regardless of what they want to call them, these are very large earthquakes. These very large earthquakes can cause very large damage. I want to make sure everybody realizes that. Now, I don't believe anybody was anywhere near this earthquake. There are some settlements here on this island. There are some settlements here. But folks, this could be a different story. This could be a very different story. Over here to the east here, this is another 5.0 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. Just northwest of there is also another 5.0 earthquake. This time, both of these earthquakes were in the water. The one closest to land could possibly still do damage to the land because it's not far from the land. This is out in the Pacific. I believe the ocean waters from this earthquake absorbed the shock waves from this quake. Further northwest here is another 4.5 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. Yes, those are clouds. Those white splotches you see are clouds here. There are clouds that move through this area on a random basis every day, literally all day long. Okay? But I want to show you this. This is Vanuatu. We do not always get to see swarms of earthquakes here in Vanuatu, but today it happened. Numerous 5.0 earthquakes. This one right here. This one right here is a 4.5. But this one here is a 4.5 here. Right here is another 5.0. This is a 5.0. This is a 5.8. To the northwest here is another 5.8. And right here is another 5.1. 5 large earthquakes here within a very short distance of each other. Vanuatu out here in the South Pacific. People felt those earthquakes. Further to the west, this is Orangau, Papua New Guinea. This is a 6.3 very strong earthquake. 6.0, 6.9 are considered to be very strong earthquakes. USGS has not even changed that. A 6.3 very strong earthquake. Now, I'm going to zoom in here. This is far enough out to sea. It's also smack dab on an earthquake fault. Smack dab on an earthquake fault. Now, I've been telling you this area is got tons of earthquake faults. Tectonic plates. Tectonic plates. Okay? 7 different tectonic plates are in this area. From Samoa, Tonga area, down to New Zealand, over here to Australia, over here to Papua New Guinea, Indonesia. Huge subduction areas, 7 different tectonic plates moving here every day. Literally every day. It's a wonder there aren't more earthquakes shown here, but USGS doesn't want to show them. They just don't want to show them. For whatever the reason, they don't want to show them. But there are earthquakes here every day. It's one of the largest subduction areas in the world. One of the largest subduction areas in the world. And yet they don't want to be honest with anybody. There are 20 earthquakes here in this subduction zone over here in Indonesia. There's another earthquake just west of this over in Papua, Indonesia. They're not showing. The only earthquakes that they're showing over here is east of Java. Dompu, Indonesia. This is a 4.5 earthquake. Still, it's fairly shallow, being only 191 kilometers deep. moderately shallow quake. 4.5 moderate quake. Over here is a 4.6 also. This is 11 kilometers deep. Not a big deal. But there are other earthquakes here as well. But again, they're not showing it. Sumatra, Indonesia, we have 4 earthquakes up here in Sumatra, Indonesia. They're not showing it. I have heard earthquakes come out of Mindanao, Philippines today. 6 earthquakes happened here today. USGS is not showing any of them. None of them. Earthquakes up here in central Indonesia or central Philippines, and also up here near Luzon, Philippines here, the northernmost island of the Philippines. Over here, just east of Taiwan. Just east of Taiwan, we have another 4.3 earthquake here. A moderate earthquake, 43 kilometers deep. Fascinating, huh? Very fascinating. Over here in the Mariana Trench. In the Mariana Trench, this is another moderate 4.6 earthquake. 178 kilometers deep this time. 4.6 earthquake. Then we come over just east of Hokkaido, Japan. East of Hokkaido here. This is another 4.4 moderate quake. 47.8 kilometers deep. Fascinating. Also on the earthquake fault. But USGS is still not showing all the earthquakes here in Japan. They're failing to show seismic activity. USGS is a failing company, a failing organization. We come over here. This is Pakistan. Pakistan. This is a 5.4 earthquake here. Now, I was speaking with one of my colleagues, Rebecca, earlier. I mislabeled this with a Rebecca. I told Rebecca it was over in the Turkey-Syria border region. It was not. This is Pakistan. Pakistan. This is south of Afghanistan, south of Tajikistan, south of Kyrgyzstan. This is a very dangerous earthquake. Karor, Pakistan. 5.4, very large earthquake. Okay? It's a mid-range earthquake. A very dangerous earthquake. It's right in the craton edge. The edge of the plate here. It's no small wonder we don't have large earthquakes here all the time. Okay? It's the edge of the plate here. I believe there are people living in antiquated housing here. Old housing. Okay? Cardboard shacks. Caves. Okay? I've never been there. I've only seen pictures. But folks, this region is very dangerous, exceptionally dangerous when we have earthquakes of this size. Okay? It's a fact. Arnold Smith is saying, is this the same Becca who developed the earthquake scale? The Bella and Becca earthquake scale? Same one. Same one. Briefly, let me show you that earthquake scale here. I think I have it here. I think. I thought I always had it here. I guess I don't. I'll show it to you tomorrow. Bella and Becca came up with a scale. Depth to magnitude conversion chart. Depth to magnitude conversion chart. Now, I consider Becca and Bella to be very much scientists. It took a lot of doing to put together that conversion chart. The depth to magnitude conversion chart with earthquakes. What does that mean? We can look at a very deep earthquake, and we can tell by looking at that chart how strong the corresponding propagation earthquake is going to be. Deep earthquakes propagate stronger, shallower quakes. They propagate stronger, shallower quakes. Now, when we get a deep earthquake like we saw over in Fiji, I told you that earthquake, even though it was a moderate earthquake, that earthquake was going to propagate a 5.6 to 5.7 earthquake. That's because it was so deep. Deep earthquakes propagate stronger, shallow earthquakes. Bella and Rebecca did an awesome job putting that conversion chart together. That's how I can tell how deep these earthquakes are, looking at that and pulling information, showing you the corresponding earthquake that's going to happen within the next 3 to 10 days. 3 to 10 days. Usually it's 4 or 5 days later, and all of a sudden we will see a much stronger, shallower quake. Shallower quakes cause more damage than deep quakes do. Okay? Bella and Rebecca are awesome women. They're great. They're great. Okay? But that earthquake here is a very dangerous, large earthquake over here in Pakistan. Those poor people don't have money. They're ruled by a ruling class of clowns. A ruling class of clowns, and yes, they'll deny it. If they saw me saying that, they would deny it. And they would call me a class clown. But those people are tyrants. Those people are tyrants. Now, the USGS is not showing any other earthquakes in this region. That's a fallacy as well, because there's earthquakes throughout this area. All throughout this area. USGS is not saying word one about it. Over here in this region here, the Turkey-Syria border region, where I mistakenly saw or said that earthquake was over here. It wasn't. It was over in Pakistan. This earthquake over in the Syria-Turkey border region has earthquakes here. Aftershocks of a much larger earthquake here over a year and a half ago. February 3rd, 2023, this area sustained a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. That earthquake killed over 5,000 people and injured more than that. They're still having aftershocks. We're still getting aftershocks in this region. It's not going to stop. Further west here, what happened to my earthquake map? Okay. Further west over here in Turkey. Northern Turkey here has a handful of earthquakes as well. Probably 7 to 10 earthquakes by now. Southern Turkey has a handful of earthquakes as well. Over here in western Turkey, there's probably another 10 or 15 earthquakes here, and USGS is never going to show all the earthquakes here. USGS is showing one earthquake, a moderate 4.2 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. There's close to 20 earthquakes here. North of here and south of here and west of here. All throughout this area. USGS shows one. Off the coast of western Turkey, we have a bunch of islands here that you see. These islands are called the Dokanese Islands. The Dokanese Islands belong to Greece, just like this larger island over here called Crete. Crete, Greece. USGS is only showing one earthquake over on the mainland of Greece. This is another 4.6 moderate earthquake here. Also, 10 kilometers deep. But there's about 20 earthquakes here in Greece, literally all around the country. North of the Aegean Sea here, north of the sea and south of the sea. Most of these earthquakes are 1.0, 1.1 tremors. But there are also a number of 2.0, 2.2, 3.5, and even 3.7 earthquakes. In addition to this 4.6 here. To the west of Greece, we also have several 4-pointers, moderate earthquakes here. Now that same fault line that's coming out of Turkey here, the Turkey-Syria border region, the Anatolian fault line. It leaves Turkey and Syria here and goes south of Cyprus here. It cuts through the eastern Mediterranean here and goes south of Crete, Greece. It comes up here to the west side of Greece here. It goes over here into Italy. Goes over here into Italy. Well, guess what? It doesn't stop. It also comes over here through Morocco, northern Africa. It comes over here out into the western Mediterranean here, and right here just west of the Strait, just east of the Strait of Gibraltar, we have earthquakes here. And USGS will almost never show them. I can't say never because they have showed some earthquakes here. But right here, we've seen a great number of earthquakes and even 5.0 earthquakes here before. 5.0 large earthquakes right here before. But USGS will never show it, will they? Just like they're not showing any earthquakes today in Italy. There are about 30 earthquakes in Italy. There are a couple earthquakes in France and Switzerland. Right at the Spain-France border here, there are 2 earthquakes here. The border between France and Spain. Just 1.1, 2.2, 2.7 earthquakes here. Down here in Spain, they're not showing any earthquakes here. Why not? There are earthquakes here. Most of these earthquakes are minor. 2.0 to 2.9 earthquakes north and south of Spain. Okay? Over here on the west side of the Strait of Gibraltar, more earthquakes here in the Azores. The Azore Islands here. They're not showing them, are they? They're not showing any. They're not showing any earthquakes down here in the Canary Islands. Why not? There are earthquakes here. There are earthquakes here. Why are they not showing them? They should. They absolutely should be showing them. But they're not. They're not showing any earthquakes in England because we don't have any showing. Usually the earthquakes in England are just tremors. Over here in Norway and Sweden and Finland, they have a handful of earthquakes here. Most of these are just tremors as well. Most of them are just tremors. Most of them. The one in southeastern Sweden is a 2.1. Then we come over here to Iceland. Iceland. I am happy to report that the volcano over here in the Reykjanes Peninsula has stopped erupting. The great big huge 13-kilometer fissure has stopped erupting. Has stopped erupting. There is still hot lava on the surface of the Earth over here. Hot lava still on the surface here. It is still steaming. It is still steaming. Now, I am going to show you a video tomorrow showing steaming going on here from hot lava still on the surface. The lava is not erupting any longer, but the lava that was left out on the surface of the earth here in Iceland is so hot. And I'll show you that video tomorrow. Okay? With that said, over here, the power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa. The Smart Singing power plant that you see here in the center of your screen. Underneath the Smart Singing power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa, there's a huge magma reservoir. The magma reservoir is recharging. The magma reservoir is recharging, and as a result, the land mass here under Smart Singing is expanding. It is lifting up. It is lifting up. We will keep you posted on what is happening here with that magma reservoir. Because scientists think at some point in time that magma reservoir will cause a dike to form. Well, I'm sorry, it has already caused a dike to form, pushing up the landmass under Smart Singing, and it is rising up, and at some point in time it could erupt as well and destroy that power plant and also destroy the Blue Lagoon Spa. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. That's Iceland. Now we've had earthquakes up here north of Iceland here. Svalbard. Svalbard belongs to Norway. There have been 4.5 earthquakes up here near Svalbard. Okay? USGS is not showing any there. USGS is not showing any earthquakes at all, except for, I shouldn't say at all. They're showing 2 earthquakes over here in South America. There are about 24 earthquakes here in South America. All these earthquakes are up and down the entire west coast of South America, Chile, Argentina area, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. They're showing this 4.0 earthquake at the border area in the Andes Mountains of Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. The Chilean border region of Argentina near San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. A 4.0 earthquake, and this is moderately deep, 217 kilometers deep. Fascinating. To the north there, Palca, Peru, right next to Sabancaya volcano. Right next to Sabancaya volcano. This is a large earthquake. This is a large earthquake. USGS has downgraded this to a 4.9. But this is a large earthquake. 116 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. But I'm promising you that is nothing. Wait till when we have a massive earthquake here. A massive meaning larger than a 5.0. This is basically in the foothills of the Andes Mountains. The foothills stretches all the way to the seashore here. But this earthquake is right next to Sabancaya volcano. Sabancaya volcano. Okay? Amazing, huh? It's amazing. It really is. Does anyone have any questions for me? I've given you a lot of information tonight. I've given you a ton of information tonight. Now, with that said, I want to go back to our KATC television station over in Louisiana. I want to go back to Hurricane Francine here.
Data, which will, terminates at a certain distance, and we do this and it's not paying attention to me right now. I don't know why it's not doing that. Well, it sees that, and oh, I just have to pan, Rob. There we go. But this is where we're picking up, and we're a good distance from the radar, but this is where we're seeing the highest winds, and our radar is doing a better job than the National Weather Service radar is, because I have this tuned for a very high definition. Also noticing some strong winds offshore here. This is with the action that's moving to the south and moving away from the coast, so that is good news there. So we do have some stronger winds around, and we'll bring in the sweeps here and take a look at the radar. This is that rain band on the western flank. Now this is still going to have to move through St. Mary Parish, so you're going to get a bit of a break. You might see the skies brightening a little bit, or get some weird coloring because you have another rain band that's moving on through. That's going to be the back end of this tropical system. Elsewhere, people are asking me, hey Rob, can you go parish by parish? Well, there's not a whole lot going on. If you want to look at your parish, we have the radar available on KATC.com. I'm exporting him once an hour to Facebook and Twitter, so you can check that out. But there's a whole lot of nothing going on once you get northwest of New Iberia proper. So that is the good news for the rest of us. Again, the most intense weather as we get down to Stevensville, Morgan City, those particular areas. Some moderate rains and some locally heavy rains moving out across the Chaffalaya Swamp. We do have some pretty good looking rains up toward the Melville area, Krotz Springs, and New Roads. But these are just minor tropical showers, much better than what our friends are seeing down across portions of St. Mary Parish, lower St. Martin Parish, and into the extreme northwestern portion, northern portion of Terrebonne Parish, where we're seeing those super high winds. Anything in blue there, 100-mile-an-hour winds. At cloud level, some of that working its way down to the ground and gusting. Do we see any couplets? That's what I want to see, if we can see, and I don't think we're going to see any couplets, but let's put this in motion just to see if there's anything consistent. We don't see anything consistent other than some breaks, but we don't see what will we see, a blue and maybe a red couplet, maybe see it briefly, but there not a whole lot is showing up at this point. So let's back it on up and take a look at we have a tornado watch in effect. Let's look at that tornado watch. No tornado warning so far issued from the National Weather Service out of Slidell nor in Lake Charles. So that is the good news there. This tornado watch in effect till 11 o'clock tonight. Of course, we have the flood watches, flood warnings, though, specifically for St. Mary Parish, Terrebonne Parish, and then now Lafourche Parish adding to the mess. And that's where the heaviest rains will continue to manifest, and that's what we have been watching for sure. So as we look at the predictive radar, again, the worst weather just east of Acadiana. Of course, we don't want to minimize it for St. Mary Parish. And again, those back-end rain bands that we just showed you earlier, expect that through about 8 o'clock, and here we are at about 5:20 or so. So it's going to be another couple of hours before things begin to quiet down, even in St. Mary Parish. But by 10, 11 o'clock tonight, the worst of it will be over for you, and the rest of us, the worst will be over probably by about 9 or 10 o'clock. You might see a few tropical showers, a few gusty winds, but there is no threatening weather for 80% of Acadiana. It's all extreme southeastern Acadiana, and that's red, St. Mary, and the lower part of St. Martin Parish.
Okay. The storm's still there. We're going to still see these great big huge thunderstorms moving through. It's the outer bounds of the hurricane. The outer bounds of the hurricane. As this hurricane moves out, and yes, we're still seeing some winds 100 miles per hour. Okay? They'll move through. The wind speeds will reduce themselves. People will live through this. So far, we have no reports of injuries or deaths. I hope that continues. I hope that continues. Folks, this is the end of this program. Okay? I wanted to end back here with this hurricane because it's still flowing through here. It's still flowing through here. Richard Smith is reporting a 2.3 earthquake in New South Wales, Australia, and a 2.7 offshore in Coquimbo, Chile. Not surprising. Coquimbo, Chile is northern Chile. Okay? 1.0 in Switzerland. Again, we're not going to see that on the USGS map. Not going to happen. I want to thank my buddy and pal, Carolyn Martin from Denver, Colorado, being here. Carolyn, I've known for 20 plus years now. She's a great friend of mine. I want to also thank my buddy Rob52 for being here. Rob52, Don Patoka, and many others of you are my closest of friends, and I appreciate and love you very dearly. Okay? Very, very dearly. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions at all for me? Don Patoka put this in chat just now. If you're scared, maybe you should be. If you don't have your crap squared away, you should be terrified. I agree. We're having earthquakes. We're having fires. We're having a hurricane. After this goes through, after tonight, the hurricanes won't be happening for another week or so. We can be very, very, very thankful. That doesn't mean something else isn't going to happen. We need to keep our crap squared away. You saw what happened last night in the debate between President Trump and that dirtbag of Vice President Camelback Harris. The dirtbag lied and cheated her way through the debate. She wore earrings that had little bulbs on them, which were earpieces, giving her information. That was verboten. That was verboten. Should never have happened. The last time it happened was with Biden. It's verboten. The Democrat Communist Party is controlling the multimedia, controlling the mainstream media. These mainstream media are no good. ABC News that sponsored the debate gave Harris the questions before she even got to the debate. She knew what she was going to be faced with. President Trump did not. But President Trump answered the questions reliably. Harris avoided most of the questions. Harris avoided them and came up with her own narrative that President Trump didn't have an agenda. President Trump does have an agenda. It is not Agenda 25. Camelback's agenda is nothing to do with anything. She has no facts that say that she's going to stop the immigration at the border. She says she is. She says there's no problem at the border. Really? Really? No problems at the border. Why then are the Democrat Communist Party of America registering illegal aliens to vote? That is also expressly forbidden. Yet the Democrat Communists are registering illegal aliens to vote. It's against the law. Giggles is violating the law. Her entire campaign is violating the law. And you know darn well what is going to happen with the voting machines. They are tampering with the voting machines as we speak. And in some places here in the United States, they've already tampered with them. Voting is going to be forever altered until we can get away from the voting machines. Unreal. Unreal. Arnold Schmidt is asking me, do I have the power outage app that shows national real-time conditions? Let me look that up. Hold on. I think I can pull that up. Hold on a second. I do have the national power outage map, and I'm going to bring it up real closely here, very, very, very soon here. Hold on. I will show you the power outage map in just a second here. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this so you can see it. Okay? Okay? Right here we're showing the area where the hurricane came in. Okay? The area in red is 100,000 people without power. 100,000 people without power. Louisiana, it says down here in the bottom right corner, 163,545 people without power. Washington State, because of the fires, 47,376 people without power. Texas, 7,118 people without power. California, because of the fires, 6,096 people. Utah, now this may be fires in Utah. Utah, 5,968 people without power. Incredible. Incredible. Now this map is updated every every 10 minutes. The total number of customers in Virginia, 1,850 people without power. Virginia. North Carolina, there are 156 people without power. I don't know why. Going south into South Carolina, 661 people without power. Georgia, 247 people without power. Florida, 4,494 people without power. Incredible. Incredible. Again, customers in Texas, customers in Texas without power, 7,118 people without power. Crazy. Crazy. Any more questions? That was a good question. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Now, as I always do at the end of our programs, I've been on the air just over 2 hours now. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay under 2 hours like I've done in the past few days. Now, I want to go over to 1 Corinthians. This time I'm in chapter 3, starting with verse 1. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you. This is Paul. This is Paul the apostle. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. Meaning people that don't know that much about Christ. Christ is addressing the people. He said, I have fed you with milk, not with meat. For hitherto you were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. For ye are not yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk as men? Are we not carnal, walking as men? I want to jump down to verse 11 here. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ. The gospel of Jesus Christ is laid out for each one of us. What are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? Christ has given us the gospel of Jesus Christ to live by. He's fed us milk. He's also given us some meat. Are we able to understand and digest the gospel of Jesus Christ as it has been given to us? I hope so. We are undergoing the time of our lives right now. It is my thought that we are in the beginning of the time of tribulation that is spoken of in the scriptures. We are only in the beginning of the tribulation. The worst is yet to come. It's not just going to be natural disasters like we've spoken about tonight. It's going to be everything. It's literally going to be everything that's going to attack us. Are we going to be able to be strong enough to withstand the slings and arrows of misfortune that the adversary is going to throw at us? If you're not prepared, you need to get there. If you're not prepared, you need to get there. We've always told you that we need to be prepared, not scared. But if you're scared, you ought to be. Because things are going to get much, much worse. You need to make yourself right with God. You need to make yourself right with God, first and foremost. You need to make yourself right with your families. You need to do that. It's more incumbent upon us now than ever. Make ourselves right with God, and make ourselves right with Christ and our families. And our families. God gave us his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to guide and direct this world. We need to humble ourselves. We need to be ready to humble ourselves, and also to humble ourselves to receive personal revelation for ourselves and our families. Christ is not going to give us the information we need, one, unless we ask for it, and two, we are humble enough to accept it. Humbling ourselves. Making ourselves right with God. Make yourselves right with your children and your grandchildren as well. They're not going to do it for you. We need to do it for them. Then we need to reach out to them and bring them back under our wings. Bring them back into the gospel of Jesus Christ if they strayed. That's where this is important. Brothers and sisters, I have a testimony of Jesus Christ. I bear you that testimony every day that I'm on the air. On Sundays, I teach the gospel of Jesus Christ on my Sunday school class, Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. That's why we named it Come Follow Me. Not following me, but following the Savior Jesus Christ. Make yourselves right with God. Then preach the gospel of Jesus Christ sparingly, lovingly, and humbly to your children and your grandchildren, so they'll be able to understand and accept it. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I love you with all my heart. Those of you that have known me for a lot of years know that. I love you more than anything. And you know that I'd do anything for you. I love you. I care about you. I ask the Lord to bless you and to be with you and your families. May God bless you and be with you now and forever. And I ask that, pleading humbly in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Have a good night, folks. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. Be safe.